Just to underscore that, Bruce, and we've been trying to explain as best we can as we go along what appears to have happened this morning. We're going to do three things. We're going to review what the procedure is, where the engines are, and where the thrust come from. Then we're going to show you the real-time videotape of the launch this morning, and then the explosion a minute and 12 seconds into launch. Then we're going to stop and show you in slow motion some of just what Bruce Hall was talking about. Now, to review what Bruce said with our model here, and forgive me, I'm not an expert on spacecraft, and if the explanation seems a little awkward, I know that you will understand that. But we want you to understand how the shuttle works, review that for you, and so you can have a better understanding of what happened this morning. The shuttle, again, it has its own three engines back here, right down at the base of the shuttle. The shuttle has its own three engines. Now, those three engines go off of liquid hydrogen fuel. These three main engines operate off liquid hydrogen fuel. Liquid oxygen and explosive liquid hydrogen fuel feed these three engines. But these three engines built into the spacecraft itself are not enough to get it off the launch pad. So they have these solid rocket fuel engines built onto the side. Component parts, solid rocket fuel engines. You know, the kind of rockets that the Germans made such good use of in the one stage of World War II. But that's solid fuel in these rockets. And these rockets have tremendous thrust, and that helps get this whole space shuttle itself, its main liquid oxygen and explosive liquid hydrogen tank that it rides piggyback on, helps these liquid solid fuel rockets help get the whole thing off the pad. The little engines, comparatively small engines, in the tail of the space shuttle not being enough to get it off the pad and head it toward orbit. Now, the plan, and what happens and what has always happened before, once it gets off the pad, once it gets headed toward orbit, and the solid rocket boosters have done their job, then they are to fall away. You've seen that happen so many times on our videotape with previous shots. That leaves the space shuttle riding piggyback on the source of its liquid fuel, the liquid oxygen and the explosive liquid hydrogen fuel in here. Now, what happened this morning, all of these component parts were still together as they should have been. After the liftoff, they're still together. And what you're going to see as we go through the real-time videotape replay and the slow motion is that it appears that the first explosion is on the right-hand side of one of these liquid, one of the solid rocket boosters. Now, let's go to the real-time videotape replay first and then the slow motion.
4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Control program. Roger, roll, Challenger.
Good, roll program confirmed. Challenger now heading down range. Engines beginning throttling down now at 94%. Normal throttles for most of the flight, 104%. We'll throttle down to 65% shortly. Engines at 65%, three engines running normally, three good fuel cells, three good APUs. Velocity 2,257 feet per second. Altitude 4.3 nautical miles, downrange distance 3 nautical miles. Engines throttling up, three engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go and throttle up. Challenger, go and throttle up.
1 minute 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
The explosion has occurred. Mission control on Houston at this moment, this morning, just after the explosion, simply didn't know what had happened. Smoke trails, debris begins to fall.
Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction.
Obviously a major malfunction, meaning a catastrophe in the sky as Space Challenger sought to explore the high frontier. Now let's take a look at what happened at the critical moments in slow motion. All of the Space Shuttle and Challenger, its fuel tank and the solid rocket boosters intact. We're about 3/4 a minute into it. Now, stop right there. You can see the first explosion appears to happen at the right side of one of those solid rocket fuel boosters. And then the liquid fuel, liquid oxygen and highly explosive liquid hydrogen fuel on which the space shuttle is riding also goes up and creates the fireball. That a slow motion replay of the videotape, and if we can go again now live to the recovery area, if we still have that capacity, the search for debris and survivors. This is the scene. This is a live shot from on board a NASA aircraft in the area. Very little debris spotted.